Northeastern Westmoreland, Dr. Dayton Campbell. Thereafter, you will hear from Dwayne Vaz, the MP from Central Westmoreland, Ian Hales, or MP from Western Westmoreland. You then hear from Andrea Perkis, who is from Hanover, and then Nikisha Burchell, South St. James. The leakages from Northeast St. Elizabeth will close the MP's presentation. Thereafter, you will hear our policies, a review of the government's policies and our proposals through our spokesperson for housing, that is Dr. Professor Floyd Morris. You will also hear from Dr. Angela Brown-Burke. She will tell you about how the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is handling the crisis. And then our party leader and president of the People's National Party, Mark Golding, will give you the leader's statement on the crisis. Please welcome Dr. Dayton Campbell.
Thank you very much, MP Burchell. Good morning, everyone. Eastern Westmoreland is where working in landforming is still having quite a bit of challenges. The main issue of concern at this point in time, I would say, is still around shelter. We have quite a bit of our constituents who are still residing in unacceptable conditions. I went to a community by the name of Amity recently with a group that was making a donation. And one of the residents spoke to the condition in which he's living. And what he has to do is to use a tarpaulin and the back of it to prevent some of the wind from coming in is actually the side of a grave. That's the reality as to how persons are still living within the constituency. The roof program, as outlined by the government, has not benefited everyone that is affected as yet. I'm still hopeful that those who remain without any level of assistance will receive the assistance in due course. And the way in which it is structured is causing quite a bit of heartache as well. Because the fact that only selected hardwares were chosen has caused some of my constituents, for example, from Dayton, who have to go all the way to Savannah Lamar to get the supplies. They have had to be spending about 80 to 100,000 in transportation costs. So let's imagine that you've received the 500,000 because you also spent this charge. But because we did not select a hardware in Dayton or one elsewhere in the Eastern Westmoreland, you have to go all the way across the parish. The transportation costs to bring the goods to where they live has caused them to be losing about 80 to 100,000 out of the sum that could otherwise go to the building material. For persons who were told that they could use this first $75,000 to do other things, like pay school fee or buy furniture or whatever it is, those persons have had to travel to Montego Bay, to the remittance companies to try and get the funding from those remittance companies. And that, as you have seen in the media, has been nothing short of chaotic. I've had discussions with the minister about us having at least one location in each constituency, preferably if you could have one location for the hardwares in each division, electoral division. And obviously there are several other remittance companies that are there that you could use that will prevent these persons from traveling all that way. The second issue is that of businesses. To date, we've gotten some assistance through factories for businesses in White House. The rest of the constituents, almost all of the small businesses were decimated, and those persons have not received any assistance at all. And that to me is also unacceptable. Because to get these persons independent, where they can fend for themselves and take care of their families, you would want to restore their livelihood as well. And those persons have not received any assistance. In terms of infrastructure, the roads were totally devastated. I heard announcement of a hurricane, post-hurricane road program for $1.3 billion. And 500 million out of it was to be spent in Kingston and St. Andrew, right? And the area in which you have the major devastation, it was less than $100 million. We have not received any allocation for road repair in Eastern West. Some of the areas are impossible still, and you still have areas where it is, as you see in Bluefields, areas where there is significant compromise of the roads, which is also affecting even JP's ability to restore electricity. And as I segue to JP's, we have 7,912 total customers in the constituency. 4,073 customers currently have electricity, 3,839 customers don't. So roughly 50% of the customers in Eastern Westmoreland still don't have electricity. 6 months? 6 months, approaching 6 months after the hurricane. I think more can be done. And two of the areas, Darlington and Dayton, it is actually a generator that is providing electricity to some of those persons who are not electric. So we are a far way off from where we should be. I will leave it at that because I know that others will come to the front.
Indicated in his presentation that in relation to transportation costs and so on, eating into the roof grants. And you indicated also that you have had a discussion with the ministry or the minister about having those hardwares being more centrally located, or at least in each division. You did not indicate, Mr. Campbell, the response you got from the ministry or the minister. That's one. Two, I've heard all the MPs speak about the need for the extension of the roofs program. What I have not heard is a sort of coordinated or a figure in terms of how many constituents or how many residents in the constituencies represented here that you can, if you have a database of the persons who might benefit from, if in these constituencies that are represented here, if you have a total figure of the people who could benefit under the roofs program. And then if I might digress, Mr. Goling, for you, the critics have said, Mr. Goling, that the issue with Jackden and Mr. Gordon is not so much on the finance side. It is on the issue of a principle of a company being involved in transactions that the authorities believe circumvent the law. Critics have said that. I wanted to hear you on that. And also, if you could tell the public, when you say the matter is before the party's integrity commission, what should the public understand? What timelines are you giving them when that will be ventilated before that internal body? And what should the public expect insofar as what the integrity commission might do in relation to that matter?
Thank you, Laverne. I'll address the questions about what this press conference was called for, but I see you've gone beyond that. Yes, my first message on that topic to the minister was on February 25, 2026. He didn't respond to that. I sent a follow-up on March 2, 2026. Didn't respond to that either. I spoke to him about it in the lunchroom at the parliament, and I asked him the question at the Standing Finance Committee as well, when we were examining the budget. He said that they would look at it. This is Minister Pernell Charles Jr. that we're speaking about. And it is obvious that just based on how rural Jamaica is structured, and I know that MP Burchell was at pains to communicate that to persons, that rural Jamaica is much different from the urban spaces. You may have somebody that lives in the constituency and they live 2 hours away from somebody else within the same constituency, or even 3 hours away from somebody else in the same constituency. So if you're coming from, say, Berkshire, which is way up on the northwest border with St. Elizabeth, and you have to go all the way down to Sav to get some material, easily you can see it will cost $80,000 or $100,000 to transport it. If you were, however, going to a hardware in Darlington or in Betheltown, then you would save significantly. You'd be able to get more material. And the problem is, and I think Dr. Morris said it, and the leader as well, the problem is that based on how it is structured, most people are being called upon to just build back board houses, which is putting them in a very precarious position should another event take place. And we know that something else will take place. We hope it's no time soon, but eventually it will. And if you are not putting persons in a position for them to build a proper structure, then you're going to have that problem. The second issue is in relation to those who should benefit. So when this process started, we tried as best as possible to communicate to our constituents about them using the self-assessment form, about them going to the Ministry of Labour, and then we spoke to persons within the ministry. A few of the chief technical directors were responsive, I must say, at least to me, and we were to submit the communities to them for them to go to the areas. What we do not know, which is what the complaint is, if we haven't gotten that final list to say that in your constituency, these are the numbers of persons that were assessed, these are the persons that are severe, these are the ones that are major, these are the ones that are minor. And it links back to the point that Professor was making. If the allocation, the severe category would use up all of the allocation and they have given to persons who have minor and major, it simply means that everybody in the severe cannot benefit because you would have exhausted the funds, right? So that is a problem that we are having, that you have persons who have been totally destroyed. They were assessed, but they have not received anything. And those persons are still living in inhumane conditions. And so the appeal really to the government is to just have a heart, man. Think of these persons that, but for the grace of God, it could have been any one of us, you know.
I just wanted to add to the clarification being given by Dr. Campbell, that, which is why we keep saying that apart from opening the period and allowing individuals to self-report or to be assessed, the information as to what currently exists needs to be shared and shared widely. You would have heard MP Ian Hales say, although the minister said that every MP has gotten a list, that he has not gotten a list. Some persons have gotten a list, they don't know if it is half, if it is a quarter, or if it is just a couple more left to be done, or how many. And that, I believe, it is the transparency and the accountability portion that is absolutely missing, which means that even if we were to get more time for persons to report, we still wouldn't know where we are.